Welcome back in this segment of our show, brought to you by Madisonville Marine. The new 2013 models are rolling in the door down there in Madisonville, which means there are great deals also to be had on the remaining 2012 models too. Skeeter, Hurricane deck boats, Bullet boats, G3, Aqua Patio, Sweetwater, and Suncatcher pontoons. You name a brand, they've got it at Madisonville Marine. Check them out at madmarine.com or get down there 411 North in Madisonville. No better place to buy a boat. All right. Glad to have with us Isiah Victor. A lot of folks remember Isiah, former volunteer basketball player in the Jerry Green years. Also, you have been. I was going to do a graphic that showed where all you've played. It's easier just to say your pro career ended a couple years ago. You played on every continent but Antarctica, basically. So you've been all over the place. Isiah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. I want to first talk about where the program. You were recruited by Kevin O'Neill. You played the 4 years under Jerry Green, which was a team that did well, had some good crowds, but for some reason never seemed to connect with the fan base. I guess the expectations were waiting for that next step forward, and it didn't come. Then, as you're away playing ball off from Venezuela to Holland, everywhere else, Bruce Pearl comes in, turns things around. Now Conzo Martin's there. It's a more stable situation, it would seem. The program moving in the right direction. Do you see any differences between where the program was when you were there and where it is now?
Oh yeah, I see a big difference, and a lot of the progress that was made came in the Bruce Pearl era. There's no doubt about that. But we did a lot for the program as well, because I remember there used to be a big black curtain at the top of Thompson Bowling Arena my freshman year and sophomore year, and then we kind of brought that curtain down. So we did have some successes in that sense. In other senses, we probably were a little less disciplined than we needed to be, which led to underachievement in the tournaments as we would have good regular seasons. But
when you look at, and that's kind of a key flip-flop from your years. I mean, Kevin O'Neill was Mr. Discipline. Jerry Green had a reputation for maybe not being the most disciplined guy. Buzz Peterson was all over the place. Bruce Pearl did a great job. Conzo Martin is Mr. Discipline. He's back to that Kevin O'Neill style of discipline. Do you think that style, you saw the back half of last year, Tennessee really improved as the year went on. Do you think that style is going to do well for Conzo Martin at UT?
Most definitely. If you spare the rod, you spoil the child, and they're amateurs at the end of the day. But he is a professional coach. He has the NBA experience. So he's also played on the high level. That means he's Kevin O'Neill with the insight of an NBA basketball player. So that's a great blend, and I think that'll help him out enormously.
Now, do you think does that play a role in terms of the kids listening to him? You think the fact that with a guy like Kevin O'Neill, he wasn't the ex-star jock, but Conzo Martin can point to the fact I played in the NBA, I played in Europe, I led Purdue in three-point shooting. Does that get a kid's attention more than a guy who didn't?
Yeah, and nothing against Coach O'Neill, but
right.
That's just in his, in Coach O'Neill's defense. But yeah, Conzo Martin, he doesn't have to say that. He could just tell, this is what he expects, and if you don't do it, this is where you sit, and that's his mentality. He's not going to yell or anything like that, I don't believe, and that's the easiest way to get somebody to do what you want them to do on the basketball court is, put them on the bench if they don't.
When Bruce Pearl came in, he arrived at a pretty good time in terms of the conference. Kentucky was, you're a Kentucky native. Kentucky was down, as far down as Kentucky gets, the end of the Tubby Smith era and then the Billy Gillispie train wreck. South Carolina was terrible. Now Conzo Martin walks in. Expectations are pretty high for this team. You got Jarnell Stokes. Everybody's thinking NCAA tournament because of their good run at the end of last year. But Kentucky's as good as it's ever been. South Carolina's just hired Frank Martin, who's a good coach. You look at Missouri, who's a top 10 program, Texas A&M, who's usually a top 25 program, joining the league. Where do you think expectations should be for this year's Tennessee team? People are aiming for NCAA tournament. A lot of people think that's a guarantee. In the SEC, do you think that's a guarantee? Is that a goal or is that an expectation, I guess?
I say it's an expectation coming from I have a player's mind as well. So we expect for them to be as good as they can be, and if they do that, then they will be in the NCAA tournament. So I definitely expect them to go there, and make some noise in the SEC tournament as well. Maybe get to the championship game, and really they should set their goals for winning it.
Does it cause you any concern when you look? Now, I guess if I'm a player, I'm looking at this thinking this is a great thing. But from the outside looking in, I'm Mr. Temper the expectations. Tennessee's got 30 games this year on the schedule. If they draw NC State in a championship game of one of these preseason tournaments, which they could, they will have 15 of their 30 games against teams that made the NCAA tournament last year. As a player, you probably like that, but from the outside looking in, that looks like that's a tough schedule. And I don't know that folks are paying too much attention to it. What's your thoughts on the schedule thing?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It's a tough schedule. Preseason-wise, you want that kind of schedule, so when you get to the SEC games, you've been tested. And aside from that, I think if they go out there and do, like I said, what Conzo Martin is trying to get them to do, if they pretty much buy into what he's doing, then they'll be fine.
All right. Isaiah, Victor, thank you very much. You're back in Knoxville, getting your degree because your goal is to get into coaching. You actually were an assistant coach at your high school in Kentucky, won a state championship. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're wanting to get into the college coaching game and finishing up your work at UT after a long pro career. It took you all over the place. Glad it wound back and had you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good deal. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tennessee's last 7 football games. We're still going to break down the Pat Summitt situation for you point by point. And then at the end of the show, just our best guess, does Derek Dooley survive? A lot to come. Come on back.